Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope everyone out there is doing just fine and that you're all having a great day. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel. There's a brand new cryptocurrency video every 24 hours. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. There's a lot going on. Apparently, this might go on forever. Haha, surprise. So, we have had, and it makes sense. I promise you it makes sense. It seems quite unorthodox, but it does make a lot of sense. We have been having a lot of cryptocurrency analysts within the space, kind of mimicking each other the last couple of, what do you call it? No, is it like months? Over the course of this year and maybe the end of the last one. Historically, crypto, Bitcoin has not been around for that long, in case you didn't know. All we currently have to go on is the past. Bitcoin and crypto haven't been around for 100 years. We don't know what their movements are always going to be like, how things happen, what causes what. We only have the history that we currently have been going on to go on. This idea is growing quite a lot. I think it is going to shake things up quite a bit, and it's going to completely change the dynamics of what it means to invest in crypto, potentially forever. So, usually, the year after the halving being in 2024, the year after being 2025, just making sure we're all on the same page. Bitcoin and the wider cryptocurrency market tend to make tremendous price moves. I mean, Bitcoin's up by 16%, other coins are up by 118% over the course of the same month. It's what we've seen historically within this market. This cycle's been very different. We actually hit Bitcoin's previous all-time high last year, and it usually would happen this year, which caused a lot of people to believe that the cycle might have been sped up. We had a lot of companies begin to announce a handful last year that they were going to begin to accumulate Bitcoin as a strategy, if you will. That's ballooned to hundreds of companies and potentially dozens of countries who we simply maybe just don't know exactly what business they're doing behind the scenes. One of the ideas behind this has typically been, in January, the year after the halving, prices move up. We'd see this until around spring, maybe early summer. Around summertime, prices tend to kind of trend sideways a little bit. And then at the end of the year, once again, there's that big crescendo. You've been hearing about it as well again recently regarding September, October. Not to reiterate, but that's the generalized idea. It would be September, October, prices would begin to move up quite strongly. By the time we get to November, December, everyone's sitting there holding their breath to see exactly how high we're going to go before the great collapse. The difference is this time, in 2017 and 2021, going back further in time, it was just us. There was no real idea of a Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, what have you, reserve. It was simply the coin exists, we see new money flowing in, the prices go up, and then when the prices go down, we were always told by Coinbase, by Binance, you name it, all the other industry leaders, if you will, it's okay. We're going to use this time of the bear market to rebuild. We're going to build more dApps. We're going to do this. We're going to have more infrastructure. The next halving, we would all wait for the next year. We would see prices go back up. We would see everyone get really excited, and then prices would fall. And it was the same kind of loop over and over. The difference now is that if you've been here or have seen any videos in the last, I want to say 6 months specifically, when we've had dips in price, they were relatively short-lived. Dips in Bitcoin world tended, past tense, to last for a couple of weeks, if not a month or so. If we went up to 35,000 and then 48,000 and then fell back down to 36, we would go sideways for a while. Because there was really, like, we had to kind of like regain momentum. We were told this is the new bottom price. People began to slowly buy back in. What we have now is that we keep getting in the news that these companies are buying up $1 billion. They're draining all of the remaining Bitcoin on the OTC over-the-counter markets. We're seeing that these purchases are actually moving Bitcoin's price. And there's an idea that if we did indeed in November or December happen to fall down in price dramatically, MicroStrategy, BlackRock, MetaPlanet, you name it, would take that as an opportunity to buy up tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of coins at a cheaper price, because they are all expecting a multi-million-dollar Bitcoin. That would in turn then kind of signal that the cycles are broken and basically no more. And this would then put us in a position where any dips would be short-lived and movements up in price would kind of just be commonplace as less and less Bitcoin actually is hitting the market and, you know, going into people's wallets. This is like a really big discussion now. When I say it would completely change how, you know, we mentally deal with crypto, the idea of like selling Bitcoin or like, you know, taking profit, what have you, is a pretty big thing within the space. We have come to know, okay, we have 3 years until we got to do this again. What if the 3 years never come? What if by the time we get to 2028, Bitcoin's at 716,000 because it's just been incrementally moving up every single week as opposed to actually falling down? It says for decades. That's a bit intense, but yeah, it is across 2 decades. The halving, a built-in reduction of mining compensation every 4 years, had been preceded by sharp spikes and precipitous drops in price. Now, however, the market is more subject to the influence of institutional money. If these companies are willing to buy Bitcoin at 60, 70, 80, 90, 100,000, 120, 140, 189, if they see 210,000 as a bargain, we go to 280,000 and there's a drop to 250, it's a bargain. Buy it all up. We still have a 4x until Bitcoin hits 1 million. Bitcoin goes to 1 million. They look at the metrics. They look at how many people are in the market. They go, we still have a long way up. It's not just us anymore. It's not just like, okay, I don't know what to do. The next 3 years are kind of scary. No, there is no like real market cycle for them. They know we have a lot more coins to buy up. This is what I've been talking about. These companies want all of it. They're not waiting. They're not sitting there waiting for a dip. A dip happens. We get news. This company just purchased $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. The drop in the dip that other people thought was going to take place is no more. Regulated investment products and general economic forces. We've seen a lot of news about countries and companies de-dollarizing and choosing to put their money in Bitcoin instead. How many companies have we heard say recently, They're planning on putting in first of all, they just put in $500 million. They're planning on putting in another $1 billion. And over the next year or two, they're planning on putting in another $10 billion into Bitcoin. Someone by the name of Pierre Rochard, CEO of the Bitcoin Bond Company, noted the halving's supply shock is much lower now compared to Bitcoin's early days. We went from 50 Bitcoin coming out of the machine to 25 to 12.5 to 6.5. Aren't we at 3 something now? Somewhere around there. As we get more and more of the total amount of Bitcoin that there will ever be being already outside of the machine, he believes that the shocks of a halving won't be as strong. If we have 90+% of all the Bitcoin that will ever be already mined, and the next 3-4% takes another 115 years, that's a real number. It's the year 2140. Therefore, is basically people just scrambling to buy what there is now, as we've been seeing, as all these companies are making sure that they absorb every single bit of Bitcoin that's currently on the market. He said it's much lower now compared to Bitcoin's early days, where the majority of the coins were still being mined. Back then, this isn't like 39 years ago. It's like, stop it. This was a couple years ago. It says back then. Cutting rewards had a clear and heavy impact on the market. In April 2024, Bitcoin's price pattern broke from tradition. He said, it seems more likely than not that the 4-year cycles are over. Halvings are immaterial to trading float. 95% of the Bitcoin have been mined. Did you know that? Yes. We're actually, I told you, when we get to 2032, the amount of Bitcoin that comes out of the machine is just in Satoshis. It's no longer even an entire full Bitcoin. What you're witnessing is the wealth transfer. They're making sure that they buy as much of it as humanly possible before the wider public becomes privy to it. The general public is going to fall over themselves for Bitcoin when it's over $1 million. What do you do before then? You buy as much of it as you possibly can. Supply comes from buying out OGs. Demand is the sum of spot retail. Exchange traded products getting added to wealth platforms and treasury companies. It had already hit a new record above $74,000 in March. Do you remember this? That was the first news that we got. People were like, why did Bitcoin do that? After we had the release of the Bitcoin ETFs, we saw that prices were moving up quite quickly. And there were a lot of people, I wouldn't say sounding the alarm, but there were a lot of people who were like, why? What's going on? That price movement that we got in March 2024, we would not normally see until around February 2025. The price was spiking weeks before the halving even happened. Helped by the U.S. approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs and a wave of institutional buying, but even back then, we did not we had, I think, 3 or 4 companies. There wasn't this institutional corporatization of Bitcoin yet. We saw BlackRock there, got it. But this idea of a Bitcoin reserve, no one knew what that meant. No one was talking about that. Now we have hundreds of companies all vying for hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin, with many, if not all of them, stating they plan on buying until the cows come home. They want as much as they possibly can forever. Others are of the belief that the halving still has a role to play, but no longer determines the price of Bitcoin. They talk about the increased importance of liquidity, ETF trades, and sentiment among investors. And they point out These now carry the same weight as supply restrictions. That is a yes and a no and a no and a no. I think the sentiment of general investors is going to be a very big thing, but I think what we're witnessing when it comes to this hoovering up of Bitcoin and other assets, other crypto assets, it's meant to be in the hands of richer people who don't get shaky. Remember when we were talking about the entire idea of like corporate landlords? For those of you who aren't aware, within the United States, the United Kingdom, and there's like one or two other countries, basically the US, Wall Street has figured out that they can like buy homes. Got it. Cool. You know, logic. The other thing is that they've come to the realization if you own all of it, you basically declare what the rent is. The other thing is that when companies are building new buildings, new homes, new houses, the usual investors, first of all, the people buying up all the homes know the people building the new homes. And they'll go to them first and say, hey, we have this new project. It's 108 apartments. Cool, we'll take it. Like you corner the entirety of the market. So the other more sinister idea behind it is, let's say in 2028, for whatever reason, there is a like huge recession. We don't know why. We're in the future, whatever, things happen. If you see this recession happen, typically, historically, people who have mortgages, they might sell their homes to be able to recuperate some kind of funds. If you're Wall Street and you're buying in cash and there's a recession, guess what you don't do? You don't sell. You actually raise the price to make sure that you make extra profits. That's what's happening with crypto. This is one of the points I've been trying to make for quite some time now. It's not that these companies think that Bitcoin is cool and awesome. They understand that mathematically the price will continue to rise higher and higher, especially as Bitcoin wraps its tentacles around everything. The secondary part is that if you own the majority of it, and you see that people begin, there's a recession, people start panic selling. Why didn't Bitcoin's price go down? Well, the people who own it, they don't have to sell. They're actually incentivized to hold on to their Bitcoin and keep staking it. The staking rewards that they get in the future are 2 to 3%. That company has 11 billion. That company has 16 billion. That company has 1.7 billion. Why in the world would I sell my Bitcoin for a lower price when I can just keep it, and the profits that I'm making from the staking alone will allow me to buy up even more Bitcoin at a lower price? That's where we are. That's the idea behind like cycles being done. Last point, I will say, no one knows what's going to happen. This is all incredibly speculative. We are going off of the past. It's literally all that we have. However, by the time we get to December, you and I will definitely be having a conversation about this because everyone's going to be really looking at the market to see if it begins to buckle. If it does buckle and then the price goes back up and we get to February, March, April of 2026 and there's no real signs of a bear market, that means cycles are over. And a lot of investors are going to be buying a monstrous amount of Bitcoin because it basically lends to the theory of Samson Mao and Adam Back and everyone else of this idea of an Omega candle or a Godzilla candle, if you will. If we see that Bitcoin's price doesn't fall anymore, you kind of need to invest because the price will only continue rising. As more people put money into the asset, it keeps rising higher, and then you sit there and go, well, I need more, I need more, I need more, I need more. Companies are doing it as well. We get to 800, 900,000, then, yeah, we are. I think cycles are going to be different. I don't know if they're over, but I don't think we're in the same ballpark where we were anymore. It's impossible. It's impossible for us to be in the exact same place when companies like BlackRock and Fidelity are here, when we're talking about 100 crypto ETFs moving to be approved in the very near future. It's impossible. We are not in 2020 anymore. Yeah, very interesting times ahead, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all investing in whatever you deem fit for your investments. As long as you are making money, making sure that you are not broke in the future and that you have passive income coming your way as well. I do sincerely hope that you have all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting on the channel. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.